They don't deserve a penny of that money. My mother-in-law's voice dripped with disdain through my phone speaker. My real grandchildren will make better use of it. I gripped my coffee mug tighter, watching my 2 children playing in the backyard through the kitchen window. Adopted or not, they were my everything. My name is Alexandra, and at 35, I never expected to be defending my children's inheritance from the woman who once welcomed me into her family with open arms. But that was before my husband Michael passed away 3 years ago, before I adopted Maya and Lucas, and before my mother-in-law Patricia decided that adopted grandchildren weren't worthy of the Mitchell family legacy. The trust fund transfers are already complete, she continued, satisfaction evident in her tone. Melissa's kids will benefit from that $2.5 million the way real Mitchell descendants should. You can't do anything about it. Melissa, my sister-in-law, had always been Patricia's favorite. Her 3 biological children were the true heirs in Patricia's eyes, despite Michael's explicit wishes that any future children of mine would be provided for through his family's trusts. Interesting, I replied calmly, watching Lucas help Maya on the swing set. The same swing set Michael had insisted on building himself, determined to create the perfect backyard for our future family. Thank you for letting me know. My composed response clearly threw Patricia off balance. That's all you have to say, she demanded. No screaming? No threats? I expected more drama from someone like you. Someone like me? I kept my voice level, years of working as a trust and estates attorney serving me well. What exactly do you mean by that, Patricia? You know exactly what I mean, she snapped. An outsider who thought she could just adopt her way into our family's fortune. Michael's death was tragic enough without you bringing in these strangers to claim his legacy. I closed my eyes, remembering the day Michael and I had first discussed adoption. He'd been so excited, already planning college funds and future family vacations. When the time comes, he'd said, our children will want for nothing. A month later he was gone, but his plans for our family's future were legally secured, or so I thought. Maya and Lucas are my children, I stated firmly, and they were provided for in Michael's wishes. You know that. Patricia's laugh was sharp and bitter. Wishes can be changed, dear, especially when the original trustee, meaning me, deems it necessary. I've already signed everything over to Melissa's children. It's done. I glanced at my laptop, where an email from James Morrison, the estate's executor, sat waiting. Patricia had no idea that her actions had triggered exactly the scenario Michael had prepared for. You're right about one thing, I said, allowing a small smile to cross my face. It is done. What's that supposed to mean? Patricia's voice held a note of uncertainty for the first time. It means goodbye, Patricia. I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon. I ended the call and opened James's email, my hand steady as I read through his detailed documentation of Patricia's latest power play. 3 years ago, when Michael first got sick, he pulled me aside one evening after the kids were in bed. Mom's showing her true colors, he'd said, his voice weak but determined. Promise me you'll protect our family, all of us. That night, we put in place safeguards that Patricia never knew about, including a secondary trust that would only activate if she ever tried to disenfranchise my children. My phone buzzed with a text from Melissa. Mom told me what she did. The money is where it belongs now. Don't fight this, you'll only embarrass yourself. I didn't respond. Instead, I called the children in for lunch, helping them wash up and settle at the kitchen table. Maya, 7 years old with curious brown eyes, looked up at me as I served her sandwich. Mommy, why was Grandma Patricia yelling on the phone? Sometimes adults get confused about what's right, I explained gently, but you don't need to worry about that. You and Lucas are exactly where you belong. Lucas, at 5, was more interested in his juice box than family drama, but I caught him watching me with those intuitive eyes that reminded me so much of Michael. They might not share his DNA, but they share his heart, something Patricia had never understood. My phone rang again, James Morrison this time. Everything is proceeding as Michael planned, he said without preamble. Patricia's attempts to transfer the trust funds have triggered the secondary protocol. Would you like me to initiate the next phase? I looked at my children, happily eating their lunch, secure in the knowledge that they were loved and protected. Yes, I replied. It's time Patricia learned what family really means. Very well, James said. I'll make the calls. She should be hearing from us within the hour. As I hung up, another text from Melissa arrived. Mom's furious that you're not responding. What are you playing at? I put my phone away and joined my children for lunch. Patricia thought she had won, that she had finally found a way to erase my children from the Mitchell family legacy. She had no idea that her actions had just set in motion exactly what Michael had predicted and planned for. Tomorrow would bring revelations that would shake Patricia's smugness to its core. But for now, I had peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to share with my children, and a promise to keep to my late husband. Sometimes the best revenge isn't an immediate reaction, but a carefully planned response years in the making. Maya looked up from her sandwich with Michael's gentle smile. Can we go back to playing after lunch? Of course, sweetheart, I said, smoothing her hair. We have all the time in the world. The next morning, I was helping Maya with her breakfast when my phone lit up with notifications. Patricia was calling repeatedly, each missed call followed by increasingly frantic text messages. I turned my attention back to Maya's scrambled eggs, knowing exactly what had triggered her panic. Mrs. Mitchell, James Morrison's voice was crisp when I finally answered his call. Patricia received the documentation this morning. She's not taking it well. I could hear muffled shouting in the background. You can't do this. Patricia's voice pierced through. That trust belongs to my real grandchildren. Actually, Mrs. Henderson, James replied, his professional tone unwavering. What you've done is exactly what your son Michael predicted and prepared for. Your attempt to transfer the trust funds has activated Clause 23B. I smiled, remembering the day Michael had insisted on adding that clause. He'd been weak from chemotherapy, but his mind was sharp as ever. Mom will try something, he'd said. We need to make sure the kids are protected. What do you mean Clause 23B? Patricia demanded. I'm the trustee. I have final say. Not anymore, James stated firmly. By attempting to divert the funds against the explicit terms of the trust, you've triggered an automatic removal clause. As of 9 a.m. this morning, you are no longer the trustee. Furthermore, your actions have activated the secondary trust, which doubles the original amount set aside for Alexandra's children. My phone buzzed with another call, Melissa this time. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing what she would say. Her children had been promised money that was never truly available to them. That's impossible. Patricia's voice shook. Michael would never. Michael did exactly that, James interrupted. He knew you might try to discriminate against his adopted children. The documentation is quite clear. Would you like me to read his personal letter to you? The silence that followed was deafening. I could picture Patricia's face, the realization dawning that her son had known her better than she'd thought. Alexandra, James continued, addressing me now. As per Michael's instructions, you are now the sole trustee of both trusts. The combined value is approximately $5 million, all designated for Maya and Lucas's future. I heard Patricia's sharp intake of breath. Not only had she lost control of the original trust, but her actions had doubled the inheritance she tried to steal. Michael's final chess move was masterful. Thank you, James, I replied. Please make sure Patricia receives a copy of Michael's letter. As I hung up, the back door opened and Mrs. Rodriguez, our neighbor who watched Lucas during his morning therapy sessions, came in with my son. Lucas's face lit up when he saw me and he ran over for a hug. His speech therapy exercises momentarily forgotten. Mommy, I did good today. He beamed, his words clearer than they'd been a month ago. The therapy sessions were expensive, but they were helping. Patricia had always complained about the cost, suggesting we send Lucas to a state facility instead. Why waste money on speech therapy when he's not even blood? She'd said once, not realizing I could hear her. My phone buzzed again, a text from Melissa. You planned this. You and Michael conspired against us. Mom is devastated. I looked at Lucas, happily showing me the stickers he'd earned in therapy, and Maya carefully eating her breakfast. These were Michael's children, regardless of biology. He'd known that, planned for it, made sure they would be protected. Mrs. Alexandra, Mrs. Rodriguez said softly, there's a woman outside in a car. She's been there for 10 minutes. I glanced out the window to see Patricia's Mercedes parked across the street. She sat in the driver's seat, clutching what I assumed was Michael's letter. It's okay, I assured Mrs. Rodriguez. She won't come in. She's just learning a hard lesson about family. My phone lit up with James's message. Patricia's lawyer is reviewing the documents. Everything is ironclad. Michael was very thorough. Of course he was. Michael had spent his last months ensuring our children's future, knowing his mother might try something like this. The secondary trust was his masterstroke. Funded by his personal investments, it would only activate if Patricia tried to disenfranchise our children. Alexandra. Patricia's voice carried from outside. She'd finally gotten out of her car. We need to talk. I turned to Mrs. Rodriguez. Would you mind taking the kids to the playroom? I'll handle this. After making sure Maya and Lucas were safely out of earshot, I stepped onto the front porch. Patricia stood at the bottom of the steps, Michael's letter crumpled in her hand. How could you do this to me? She demanded, but her voice lacked its usual authority. To Melissa's children. I didn't do anything, Patricia, I replied calmly. Michael did this. He knew you try to hurt his children because they're adopted. He made sure they were protected. He was sick, she protested. He wasn't thinking clearly. He was thinking perfectly clearly, I corrected her. Clear enough to predict exactly what you do and plan accordingly. Clear enough to make sure his children, all of his children, would be taken care of. Patricia's face crumpled. But Melissa's kids have their own trust funds from their father's side, I finished for her. They don't need Michael's money. This was never about providing for them. This was about you trying to punish my children for being adopted. Through the window, I could hear Maya's laugh mixing with Lucas's excited chatter. The sounds of family, real family, filled the house Michael and I had made a home. You've lost more than just trustee status, Patricia, I said softly. You've lost the chance to know your grandchildren. To see them grow, to be part of their lives. That's the real tragedy here. I turned to go back inside, but her voice stopped me. He knew me too well, didn't he? She whispered, staring at the letter. He knew exactly what I would do. Yes, I agreed. He did. The question is, now that you know what he thought of your behavior, what are you going to do about it? I left her standing there, the morning sun casting long shadows across my front yard. Inside, my children were waiting, their future secure thanks to a father who had loved them before he even knew them. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply letting someone's true nature reveal itself and having the foresight to protect what matters most. 6 months after Patricia's failed attempt to disinherit my children, life had settled into a new rhythm. Maya had started 2nd grade, excelling in her art classes, something that would have made Michael beam with pride. Lucas's speech therapy was showing remarkable progress, and he'd made friends with 2 other kids in his kindergarten class. I was reviewing some trust documents in my home office when an unexpected email arrived from James Morrison. Patricia has requested a meeting. She's been attending family counseling and wants to make amends. How would you like to proceed? The request surprised me. In the months following her failed scheme, Patricia had retreated to her country club life, while Melissa had taken her children on an extended European vacation, funded, no doubt, by their other family trusts. Mommy. Maya's voice interrupted my thoughts. Look what I made. She burst into the office, holding up a family portrait she'd drawn. There we were, Maya, Lucas, me, and even Michael, drawn from the photos I kept around the house. But what caught my eye was the figure she added in the corner. A grandmother with silver hair, standing slightly apart from the group. Is that Grandma Patricia? I asked gently. Maya nodded. Miss Thompson said we should draw our whole family, even the ones we don't see much. Do you think Grandma Patricia will like my picture? I studied my daughter's hopeful face, remembering Michael's words. Family is about choices, Alex. Every day, we choose who we want to be to each other. I replied to James's email, agreeing to the meeting but with conditions. It would be at our house, on our terms, and the children's well-being would be the priority. A week later, Patricia stood on our doorstep, looking smaller somehow, less imposing than she had 6 months ago. She held a large shopping bag and wore an uncertain expression I'd never seen before. Alexandra, she said softly, thank you for seeing me. I led her to the living room, where Maya's family portrait now hung proudly on the wall. Her eyes fixed on it immediately, lingering on the grandmother figure in the corner. Maya drew that, I said. She still thinks of you as family. Patricia's composure cracked slightly. I've been seeing a therapist, she admitted. After reading Michael's letter that day, seeing how clearly he saw through me, I realized I needed help. She reached into her shopping bag. I found these while cleaning out my attic. She pulled out a stack of photo albums and a worn leather journal. Michael's childhood photos and his journal from the year you started adoption proceedings. I thought maybe the children would like to know more about their father. I opened the journal to a random page, catching glimpses of Michael's familiar handwriting. Met with the adoption agency today. Can't stop thinking about the family we'll build. Mom doesn't understand yet, but she will when she meets our children. He never gave up hope that you'd accept them, I said quietly. Patricia wiped a tear. I was wrong, Alexandra. So terribly wrong. Not just about the money, but about what makes a family. She pulled out one final item, a small wrapped package. This was Michael's favorite book when he was Lucas's age. He used to make me read it every night, even when he was struggling with his own speech difficulties. I hadn't known that about Michael. Lucas has the same challenges, I said. I know, Patricia replied. That's why, if you'll allow it, I'd like to help with his therapy. Not financially. I know that's taken care of. But I was a speech pathologist before I married into the Mitchell family. I retired years ago, but maybe. Her voice trailed off as Maya appeared in the doorway. Lucas close behind her. They stood uncertainly, looking between me and their grandmother. Children, I said carefully, look who's come to visit. Patricia set the book down and turned to face them fully. Hello, Maya, Lucas. I've missed you both. Maya stepped forward first, brave as always. Did you see my picture? I drew you in it. I did see it. Patricia smiled, her voice wavering. It's beautiful. You have your father's talent for art. Lucas hung back, but his eyes fixed on the book on the coffee table. Patricia noticed his interest. That was your daddy's favorite story when he was your age, she said gently. Would you like to hear it? He looked at me for permission and I nodded. Soon, Patricia was sitting on the couch, a child on either side, reading from the worn pages of Michael's childhood book. Her voice was different now, softer, without the sharp edges of superiority that had dominated our last encounter. Watching them, I felt Michael's presence strongly. He'd known this might happen too, that given time and consequences, his mother might find her way back to the truth about family. A secondary trust wasn't just about money. It was about giving everyone time to grow, to learn, to choose who they wanted to be to each other. Maya's drawing caught the afternoon light, the family she depicted, complete with the grandmother in the corner, seeming to glow. Sometimes the happy ending isn't about winning or losing, but about finding a way back to what matters most. Michael had known that too. I left them reading and went to start dinner, sending a quick text to James. The meeting went well. Michael would be pleased. His response came moments later. He knew it would, eventually. That's why he left the door open for reconciliation in the trust terms. Your children have inherited more than money. They've inherited his wisdom about what family really means. I smiled, listening to the sounds of story time floating from the living room. Maya's laughter, Lucas's questions, Patricia's gentle answers, the sound of a family healing, one page at a time.